Goonland Productions presents the Omega Cast with your host, J.P. Whitman.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Omega Cast with me, John Kerns, and my co-host, J.P. Whitman.
Hey, how is everyone out there tonight? If you're a new listener and subscriber, welcome. This is a wrestling podcast for wrestling fans by wrestling fans. John, we have a guest today.
Yes, we do. We have a special guest with us this evening. His name is Sid. He goes by the name on YouTube of the NerdyMark. Sid, you want to say hello?
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, JP? What's going on, John? Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's quite an honor. This is my first time doing something like this, so I'm a little nervous, but I think as long as nothing bad happens, we'll be fine. But yeah, it's good to be here. That's right. As you all heard, I am Sid. I go by the NerdyMark. It's one word, NerdyMark, one word. Because I'm a huge nerd. I love comic books, video games, and anime, but I'm also a huge wrestling fan, so I'm a nerd and I'm a Mark, NerdyMark. That's where the name came from, in case you were wondering. But yes, I do have a YouTube channel, which you can check out after you listen to this podcast.
Hell yeah, and it's really good too. I love the way you cut away your scenes, and you have a distinct personality. Aside, like, if you want to get anywhere in this type of field, you have to have a personality, and you definitely seem to have like a very sharp and sarcastic type of wit about you.
I appreciate it, yeah.
Yeah, which I love, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, man. Go on.
Alright, so this week we are going to get into some Raw and SmackDown, talking about the go-home editions of those two shows for WWE Backlash, which is, of course, this Sunday being May 6th, 2018. So let's jump right into Raw, shall we? So Raw kicked off this week. Tim, you want to go into a little bit of Raw?
I could tell you this. It started with a very, 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 very loud boo.
Yes, it did. So,
because Roman Reigns came out. And they were in Montreal, Canada. And apparently, just like New Orleans and everywhere WrestleMania is held, it's a crazy town.
Definitely.
So there's a lot of butterflies there. And if you understand that reference, you're lame, just like me. Anyway, yeah, Roman Reigns came out and tried to get sympathy for losing, but not really losing to Brock Lesnar, and no one cared. And Samoa Joe got on the big screen and just kept telling him that I was right, Brock Lesnar beat you, no one cares, and I'm going to beat you at Backlash. And it seemed like no matter what Roman Reigns tried to say, the crowd would just not let him speak. And it was just crazy because I haven't seen that level of boos for him in quite some time. And this led to Sami Zayn coming out, and apparently he lives 15 minutes away from where they were, and Kevin Owens lives like a half hour away from where they were.
Oh, wow.
And Sami got like a god-like, it was like Jesus Christ had just come back to earth. Like, everyone just loved him so much, and just like his smarmy heel self, like, he was dancing and doing facial expressions just very, like, you could take them as being a face, but you could also take them as being a heel.
Right.
It was just incredible, and he said that he wanted to wrestle Roman that night, and then, I'm wrong. Jinder Mahal came out first.
My favorite person.
I believe.
Yeah, Jinder wound
Either
up
way,
wanting to fight.
all the Canadians came out.
Jinder wound up wanting to fight Roman for some reason, even though nobody cares about him.
I think Jinder Mahal should have his WWE card pulled after he did a flat back bump after like 30 seconds of Jeff Hardy already on the ground.
Well, that was rough.
But we got the 3 heels out there wondering who's going to wrestle Roman for why. I don't know. I guess like he matters even though he's a loser. Then they all started beating up on Roman, and then Bobby Lashley came down for some odd reason because he hasn't said a word since he came back onto the scene in WWE. And then he started getting beat down, and then like I just watched your video, Sid. What would you say happened after that? After Lashley came down?
Yeah, and then Braun Strowman suddenly got amnesia, and he forgot that Roman Reigns tried to kill him last year. So he just came out and helped save the babyfaces.
Right.
Yep.
And I thought this segment was really good just because of how much the crowd reacted. But I would say Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe were the big standouts in this segment. John, how did you feel about this segment?
I think that the segment was fine. I think that the segment did a good job of highlighting Roman versus Samoa Joe at Backlash. I expect that to be a decent match because Joe can have a good match with whoever he's in the ring with. And Roman isn't as awful now as he was back when everybody booed him like Montreal did. And I am myself of the opinion that Roman beat Brock Lesnar at the Greatest Royal Rumble. What do you think, guys?
I am too.
Yep, same.
Yeah. Alright, so moving on from that, we get into Elias versus Bobby Roode, a rematch. Bobby Roode was able to get a little bit of one-upsmanship on Elias here, but it ended up where the referee stopped the match because Roode was unable to continue.
Yeah, the match was all right. I liked the post-match heel heat that Elias got, but I really don't understand the point of Bobby Roode on the main roster. They're really not tapping into the potential money making they could have with him as a heel or as even a tag team wrestler.
I agree completely.
Him as a face, as by himself, what does glorious mean? I don't understand it.
Right.
In NXT, I understood what glorious meant. It was, I'm better than you. I wear suits. I get better people to come watch the show. But now it's just, oh, there's the glorious guy who kind of looks like Triple H. Sid, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I would say I have the same opinion as you, JP, and John. Yeah, unless they turn Bobby Roode heel, I don't know what the heck he's doing. He's kind of like in limbo right now on Monday Night Raw. Honestly, when he got drafted, I was like, okay, well, looks like good times are ahead for this man. But at this point, I really don't know what to think. But hopefully we'll see. After Backlash, maybe they'll do something with him. Fingers crossed. But, yeah, I don't know really what's going on with Bobby Roode.
Yeah, Bobby needs to be a heel desperately because if you go back to his Impact Wrestling days, him as a heel, it was absolute perfection, and he was over like Rover in TNA, which is now Impact, and even on NXT, he definitely portrayed more of a heel type character, especially in his feud with Shinsuke. So I don't understand why, and it seems to happen a lot, where they'll bring somebody up from NXT and completely disregard the momentum that they had in NXT. What do you guys think?
No, I agree. That's usually like that. I mean, I guess I would say that was even the case for a little bit with Nakamura when he first joined SmackDown. But I think now that I guess we'll get more into it when we talk about SmackDown. But like now that he's heel, I think they've started to capitalize on him a little bit more. But so yeah, I think heel Bobby Roode would be the ideal route to go, unless you want to make him like a cocky babyface, which I don't know if it's a little too late for that, but we'll see.
It's I agree. The only wrestler that they haven't ignored the past from their NXT is seems to be Andrade.
Oh yeah.
And they kind of talked about Finn Balor's past in NXT here and there during the commentary and such like that. But yeah, they never really go into it, like especially whenever they're coming up. Maybe they'll mention it a little bit, but they didn't. They never even mentioned anything about Roode. I don't think, or I can't seem to remember.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't remember. So
what was next, John?
Moving on from Roode and Elias, and this is kind of going to continue our NXT point here, because where they're doing everything wrong with Bobby at this point, I feel that they're doing everything right with the Authors of Pain, because they had a squash match against two local talents, and as far as I can tell, for right now, Authors of Pain are fine on Monday Night Raw. They don't seem to be losing any steam. They lost their manager, but I don't think that's as big of a deal as some people were making it out to be. But I enjoyed this match as far as squash matches go, because it wasn't like your typical squash match. They actually used these guys to accurately portray the power that the Authors of Pain bring. Now, what do you guys think about that?
I agree 100%. Yeah. I do have something to say here, though. I understand that Paul Ellering's older and didn't want to do the main roster travel and such. And I watched Authors of Pain talk in backstage segments and everything like that, and I was surprised that they spoke English because they never allowed that on NXT. And I was like, oh wow. But their promo after this match was like super 1980s wrestler promo, and it kind of made me feel like, okay, I could do without this. So
exactly,
they could either just like not talk, or just talk in the backstage, or maybe get a manager. But I know Vince McMahon is not so keen on managers. But, squash matches used to be a huge thing, and then for a long time they weren't used at all. And it's nice to see a squash match here and there, because it enhances the talent very much. What do you think, NerdyMark? Sid?
I kind of my sentiments exactly. I think they are Authors of Pain. I think I mentioned this in my video, but I love them to death, man. I love these two guys. I loved them in NXT. They were like my favorite tag team on NXT while they were there, and now AOP. I think they have a lot of potential on the main roster, but yeah, I think they need a lot more work on their mic skills. And I think I agree that JP. I think a manager would be great. Honestly. I know it's a long shot, but partner them up with Paul Heyman, because that man's a master on the mic and he can really put these guys over. But I know he's working with Brock, but fantasy booking would determine for me that I would want someone like Heyman to manage these two. So make them both Heyman guys. That's what I say.
Now see, I understand that point. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to bring up a couple of things here.
Sure.
One is not my own view or opinion, and one is.
Okay.
First off, Paul Heyman has said that the reason why his run with Cesaro didn't go well was because his point was to drive home every night all the things about Brock Lesnar and about him beating the streak, and Cesaro was hurt by that. So as long as he's working with Brock, I don't think he would want to take on any other person.
Right.
Second off, and this is just my observations, Paul Heyman is great on the microphone. He was a great commentator. But when he had Curtis Axel, he didn't really do anything for him. Same with Cesaro, like I just said. It seems like the only two guys that he has had recent success with were already successful people, in Brock Lesnar and the unmentionable CM Punk.
Right.
He's like Lord Voldemort.
So I don't know if he's so great because he's with somebody who's so great. Not that he isn't. You could tell that he's great, but maybe him being next to somebody like that motivates him to up his game. But it's just an observation that I've seen with Paul Heyman. You know what I mean?
Right.
That I don't think a lot of people think about just because of how good he is.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if it ever happened, I don't see how it could be bad because they could just be like Brock Lesnar's henchmen too, you know?
Right.
And whenever he's not there, which every wrestler complains about in every program that they have with him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, just have Razor and Akam beat him down.
Yeah. Or another.
The only thing about.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Sid.
no, sorry. Just another thing another idea I had was honestly, and I know this is probably never going to happen because it's like the Bigfoot of WWE. But the Roman Reigns heel turn, Authors of Pain and Roman Reigns, I think would be a good heel.
I was about to say the same thing, Sid.
I think it should happen. I think we're getting closer to it happening. You know, like they made John Cena the only guy who could never turn heel, and we're all supposed to forget he was a heel.
Yeah.
But with Roman Reigns, you know, it is a possibility that he could turn heel, and that would be fantastic, especially if there was some type of co-branded match, or guys ended up on the same brand and had Samoa Joe in Authors of Pain against the Usos and Roman Reigns, not having him turn heel could also work. But the only thing about the Authors of Pain that I don't like right now, and it doesn't even have to do with them, is who the Raw Tag Team Champions are, because I don't see that match happening or being good. Like,
No,
I don't see Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt having chemistry with these two guys.
Absolutely not.
Well, to be fair, nobody really thought that they would have chemistry with each other.
Wrestling-wise, yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, like, I wanted to see them interact, but I didn't know that they would have good chemistry together.
Definitely.
And their promo on Raw was fantastic.
Oh my god, yes.
Where they superimposed themselves in all these different historical moments. And I don't know if you guys saw on Matt Hardy's YouTube, he explained who they were.
Yeah, I saw
reincarnated.
that.
He said that his essence was Zenith, and Bray was Samael. Samael. Yeah, Samael, and that Abigail was holding Samael down, and I instantly was like, okay, Samael sounds Hebrew, so I want to look what this means, and apparently, Samael was the venom of God, a good and bad archetypal character in Jewish and Christianity, Judaism and Christianity, and he was like the main archangel of death. So it like totally fit what they're doing, because you think about Matt Hardy, and he's the light and he battles the darkness, but he has Bray Wyatt who's coming out and saying he is the darkness. So this whole idea of Samael being this dark character that the light uses is perfect, and Matt Hardy is mentally like a genius. Like he may not be the best in the ring anymore, but his promos, the way he made this character, and the deeper he takes everything about this character and that world is just top notch. 100%.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
so
for real.
we're gonna move on from this squash match, and we're gonna talk about the next segment. It was a segment, not a match. It was Seth Rollins and Finn Balor being approached by none other than the Miztourage, being Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. And it's like they were trying... The Miztourage was trying to join up with Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. And Curtis Axel was wearing this T-shirt that I have to imagine he made himself. It was... and it had like paper cutouts of all their faces of Finn, Seth, Curtis, and Bo, and they were like taped to the shirt. And this was just a great segment all around.
I agree.
Yeah.
I loved how they referenced the Four Horsemen, and with Bo and Curtis being second generation and third generation wrestlers or whatever. I think Bo's third, but he may be second anyway. That would be really cool if they did have a resurgence of the Four Horsemen that had them in it. But ultimately, the Seth and Finn said hard no, and by the end of this segment, Finn let Seth Rollins know that he still has his eyes on that IC title when he dropped him with what looked to be the 1916, but he moves into an elbow.
Oh, I thought it was the sling blade. Sorry.
Oh, I thought it was he came around like he was going to do the 1916.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
Or I don't know. I watched it on Monday.
Okay, I mean, whatever.
But like that move, how he turned it into something else with the elbow, a more striking, further indicates that Finn Balor could be going heel soon, like full blown.
Yes.
He's been flirting with it for a while.
Right.
What do you think, Sid?
I want that so bad, it's not even funny. Like, I really want Finn Balor to turn heel, because there will be a lot more weight in that eventual match that they have again for like the 5 billionth time. But I don't care. I mean, Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, I can watch them all day. It doesn't matter. But as far as the segment goes, yeah, it was great. And my only nitpick I'll say is when Finn Balor dropped that elbow onto Seth Rollins, he looked at Finn and he was like smiling. I'm like, dude, do you like people hitting you in the chest with an elbow or something? But I think just presentation notes, that's the only thing. But otherwise, the segment was great. And Finn Balor, if he turns heel, I am 100% behind that.
Oh.
You cut out there, bud.
Oh, I did? Yeah.
Sid, what was your last?
No, I just said that.
Last thing
no,
you
I
said?
just said that I'm sold on a Finn Balor heel turn.
Right.
Yeah. And going off what you said about Rollins smiling at him, I think it like you further look down the line and you're like, okay, well, Seth Rollins was a bad guy. He was the architect. He knows, he understands where Finn's coming from. He can respect what just happened. Okay, so yeah. I just love this program with them. And
yep.
Yeah. So John, what was next?
Well, my last point on the Finn and Seth stuff is, simply put, people that have never watched New Japan Pro Wrestling don't know what they're missing out on with a heel Finn Balor.
Yeah, exactly. But they took his crew. They put him on SmackDown.
I mean, sure, but like Finn could be fine by himself as a heel, I think. But moving on from this, we come to a women's division match, which is Sasha Banks versus Ruby Riott. Riott beats Sasha Banks via pinfall. And
you could take the next part, Sid.
Yeah.
What did you think about this?
Yeah, no, it was fine. It was a fine match. Nothing too amazing or anything. Nothing to write home about. But it was all right. I don't really have much to say. I mean, Riot Squad, they're asserting their dominance on the women's division, or at least attempting to. So we need a face faction to combat them now. I don't know who that could be. But it was an okay match, and I think JP, I think you and I were talking about this earlier, but like I had a bit of a nitpick with the whole interview thing, so I don't know if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, in Sid's video this week, he said, "Why would Renee Young interview Sasha just as she's going out for a match?" And my whole thing was, well, Mean Gene Okerlund used to do it every WrestleMania. They would hit him right before they got to Gorilla, or so it seemed.
Yeah, I actually really like the Gorilla position interviews.
Yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't make a lot of sense because a fighter wouldn't want to be talked to right away, like right before a match. Yeah. But this is sports entertainment, whatever. My biggest takeaway from this match was Sasha and Ruby had good chemistry, and I'd rather see them one-on-one instead of all the interference with the Riot Squad that still doesn't make sense to me. Their music doesn't make sense to me. Why they're together doesn't make sense to me. Unlike Absolution, where they were on Tough Enough and Paige was a judge there, so it kind of made some sense. I have no idea why Ruby, Sarah Logan, and Liv are together. I don't know why they have a poppy theme song when they're heels. And the biggest thing from this match that I don't understand is there was no Bayley whatsoever. So,
I mean,
this terrible feud isn't even being continued.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was wondering. Like, this is gone? This Bayley and Sasha feud, it's pretty much in limbo now. I don't know why they're scared to turn Sasha heel. I mean, they should just do it. I know so many people we want to see her turn heel right now, but still, I don't understand how. Let's just do it, pull the trigger, and let's move on. But I don't know.
Raw does seem...
Everybody just needs to turn heel.
Exactly.
Raw does seem to suffer from an overflow of face characters, where SmackDown really doesn't suffer from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think there'd be too many heel females on Raw?
No. I said Raw suffers from an overload of faces and not many heels.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said that Bayley should be the one to turn heel, but I disagree. There's too many little girls who love Bayley, but it would spark more life into both of their not just their feud, but both of their careers if Sasha turns full heel and they have an actual put money behind them program. Like, if you had it in NXT, there's no reason you can't do it on the main roster, and I don't know why they're straying away from it, or at least like teasing it and then walking away from it. It just makes no sense to me. So,
all right, so we're gonna move on from
I agree
Sasha and Ruby, and we're gonna move into two promos. First, we have a short one, which is a continuation of the anti-bullying campaign from Alexa Bliss. And then that moves into another promo with Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, which we touched on earlier, but we can get into a little more detail. First, I want to hear your guys' takeaway from all this stuff with Alexa Bliss and the anti-bullying stuff.
I think that the first thing that they did, like the backstage when she was talking to Mickey James and called her Shrek and overweight and all that, that was like, that had a lot of backlash from fans and other people for fat shaming, and I felt that way too. But the way that they're presenting these promos is just, it's still kind of like fat shaming, but it's done in a different way, and it's just really funny. Like, where I would see two women talking about another woman like that, like they did in the backstage segment, and I'd be like, wow, I can't believe that they aired that. The fact that they put Alexa in this, like, trying to get sympathy segment and saying, like, she gave Alexa a child, made them give her a child's menu while she had 2 turkey legs, is, like, I don't know how you can't laugh at that, you know? Sid, how'd you feel?
Yeah, I'm okay with this segment. I actually really am liking Alexa Bliss. She just continues to show why she's such an amazing heel. Alexa's promos. I mean, about the fat shaming, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, I'm kind of okay with Alexa Bliss doing it, just because she is supposed to be a heel, and she thinks she's like the best thing in the world since sliced bread, because that's her character. But I think this segment with this moment of bliss, this was good. I really liked it. I wish we could have more, but I don't know. After Backlash, we'll see. But I wish we could have more of these, though.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell too much on the Alexa Bliss stuff, but I do want to mention that we've seen this very recently, where people get really upset about certain promos, and a lot of people, I don't even know if I want to say a lot of people, I would call them a vocal minority. They seem to forget that professional wrestling does not reflect real life. And we saw this in the form of the death threats that have been aimed towards Arya Daivari after him and his brother showed up at the Greatest Royal Rumble. And I don't want to dwell too much on that, because we've all seen those stories by now, and I honestly don't want to give people that send death threats to pro wrestlers any sort of platform. But pro wrestling isn't real life. You don't have to get upset about every little thing. What do you think?
John, as soon as you said that, I didn't think you were going to bring up the Daivaris. I was thinking about whenever Jinder Mahal made like kind of a racist remark against Nakamura back when he was on SmackDown.
Oh yeah.
And it's like what you said. It's a TV show. It's not real life. And like, if this is gonna give the heel heat, then good. If you're getting people saying, "Oh, I can't believe that they allowed that," well, why? It's entertainment. It's art. It's expression. Like, get over yourselves. Everyone, the age of social media, it's just like, oh my God, everyone has an opinion, and everyone's opinion matters. No, it doesn't. Just sit back, relax, and watch the show.
Yeah, and I actually commented on a post that I saw on Facebook about the death threats aimed at Arya Daivari and Sean Daivari, and I said, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Because you would never, like, a perfect example, you wouldn't send death threats to Josh Brolin because of what Thanos did in Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Because it's a movie, and everyone understands that.
Right.
Can you imagine,
but
though?
I want to move on to...
Yeah, Josh Brolin wouldn't give one shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He'd probably put on his Jonah Hex outfit and go out there and start kicking ass and taking names, honestly.
And Arya did apologize for the segment, and I think that was a good PR move, but I find it a little sad that he even felt the need to do so. I felt bad for Arya after that all happened.
Yeah, but you said you felt bad for his need to apologize or whatever, but that's a whole nother part of the world,
right.
Man. Like, I remember a few years ago whenever somebody made a satire out of Muhammad, and like almost every terrorist organization was talking like they were going to do something.
Right.
So, you got to tread real lightly whenever you're in different territory.
Yeah. Okay, but I want to move on from this. I don't want to dwell on it too much. We got an amazing promo, which we touched on earlier, from my current favorite act on Monday Night Raw, which is, of course, the Deleters of Worlds. What do you guys think?
Well, since I gave so much of an opinion about it earlier, I'll just let Sid tell you his views.
Okay. Well, first thing I do have to say is when Matt Hardy did the broken thing over in Impact, I'll be 100% honest with you guys. I was like, what the hell is wrong with Matt Hardy? I really didn't understand this, but I think as I started watching more and more, it kind of started growing on me. So now, now with that in mind, I think this is a phenomenal segment, and this just continues to get wackier and crazier, and I am 100% behind it. And I just love that they have them in so many historic pictures. Just like, oh, we were here, we were there. I don't remember exactly what the images were, but a lot of historic images putting themselves in there. I think that was amazing. I need to see more of this, and that's all I can say.
The last one was Matt Hardy said, "This world cannot contain us," and it was a picture of them on the moon, or this planet couldn't contain us, and
it's fantastic. Absolutely wonderful,
delightful. They have green beans on Mars. They are a delicacy.
That's right.
Dude, I
Hell is
think
made out of mustard.
I think that the next Ultimate Deletion match is going to take place on the moon. That's where it's going.
Exactly. Yes, John. Yes.
Let's go.
And just for all the conspiracy theorists, they're going to do it in the same studio they did in the 1960s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Moving on.
No comment.
We got 6-man tag team action. Reigns, Strowman, and Lashley versus Mahal, Owens, and Zayn. The poor bastards getting lumped in with the modern-day Maharaja.
Yep.
Team Canada, baby. They don't want to say it, but it was Team Canada.
Versus Team
They
US.
should have had Bobby Roode out there.
I thought the match was good. WWE has been hitting the nail on the head on 6-man tags lately.
Yeah.
The only thing is, and I kind of said it earlier, is Bobby Lashley's return to WWE has been super underwhelming, and nothing's been explained. He has no real feud. I mean, I guess
I don't know.
Coming out of this week,
I don't know if we even want to talk about.
He and Braun have a match at Backlash against Kevin and Sammy, but why? Why?
Yeah,
Why did they insert themselves? Why are they having a match? Right. None of it makes sense to me. But the action was good, and it put Braun over Roman even more. So, yay!
There you go. Yeah,
I agree.
Touching on your
sorry?
If I could cut in for just a moment, touching on your point about Bobby Lashley, do we even want to talk about his performance at the Greatest Royal Rumble?
Oh, we had a reaction vid, but I mean, some people aren't going to sit through 4 hours to see how we felt.
It
so
was
go
horrendous.
Ahead.
He was so...
Do you think it was horrendous?
He was sloppy as hell. I don't know what Bobby Lashley we were getting, because it sure wasn't the one from Impact.
Just that one move with Cass, and I would attribute that to Cass's stature.
Just Cass being cumbersome?
Just because he's so tall, not his weight,
right.
but his length.
Well,
but I mean, I don't really remember any other problems.
I wasn't very impressed with Lashley, and to be fair, I never really have been. But I want to get Sid's take on the 6-man tag.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it, and I think I mentioned this in my review as well. But any match in which Braun Strowman gets to kill people, it's a good match and it's a good time. But other than that, the match was great, man. I liked it. I thought it was entertaining. It was fun. Again, nothing like anything spectacular happened, but yeah, it was entertaining. I had a good time.
I just got an idea for you, Sid.
Mm-hmm.
Until you become famous, you should just start calling all the people who watch your YouTube nerds.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson about that. We'll see.
Well, their first question would be are you a good brother or not?
I don't know if you really need permission, though, because they kind of just hijacked the Too Sweet hand symbol.
Right.
Yeah,
but then they go...
I have to put a cease and desist thing every time I do the Too Sweet on my videos, so, WWE, man.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah, what do you
Moving
do?
on to...
They contacted us after the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Oh, yeah?
That's true. That is true.
Mm.
Yeah, they were upset about the theme songs being played through the speakers. The same theme songs that they put on YouTube for free for everyone to hear.
Damn. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting logic.
Anyway, moving on to Baron Corbin versus No Way Jose for some reason. Let's move on. Titus O'Neil, who is currently now my favorite person in WWE after all this amazing stuff that has happened. I'm Titus World Slide all the way, baby. So, don't know about his entrance at Raw, though. Kind of felt way too laying it on thick.
I think he did it on purpose.
Yeah. Laying it on a little thick, Titus.
Yeah, no, that was on purpose, I think.
What do you guys think?
But my whole thoughts on this is, first off, I'm also on the Titus Worldwide bandwagon now. But I did like Titus. Titus is a funny case because when he was in the NXT that wasn't good, he was terrible. And the only time I started liking him was whenever he started doing the Pancake Patterson gimmick, and then I liked him as a person outside of wrestling, and now I can honestly say that I find him very entertaining.
Oh, he's a great dude.
And
for sure.
I never thought that I would say this, but out of all three wrestling personalities in this segment, he's the only one I cared about. Because they have shit the bed phenomenally on Baron Corbin. They do not know what they're doing with him. I don't even know if they want to have anything to do with him.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean...
I still find myself cheering for Baron Corbin. I've liked him since day one on NXT. His
dude,
feud
he's taking Dolph Ziggler's place.
What do you mean he's taking Dolph Ziggler's place?
Dolph Ziggler was the guy that everybody liked, and then the WWE crapped on him for so long that people stopped caring. And now he's with Drew McIntyre, so it's shot a little life into him. So who's going to take the Dolph Ziggler place? Baron Corbin, apparently.
But the WWE universe has always shit on Baron Corbin for no reason.
I mean, I would say, I see where you're coming from, JP,
NXT.
but, it's only been a couple of weeks since the Superstar shakeup, so I think it's a little too early to tell.
Putting him in such an undercard rivalry.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely.
With both Titus and No Way Jose is not.
Now, I will
cool.
say, I understand where you're coming from with that, because I 100% do not care about No Way Jose.
Yep.
Right, and you know that anything with Titus O'Neil in it, even though it is entertaining, is leading to nowhere.
But I would say, But I do think I don't, and this may be like absolutely ridiculous. And look, and Titus Worldwide, and for all intents and purposes, is a pretty ridiculous thing. As is No Way Jose. Honestly, just pair those two together.
Yeah, put No Way Jose and Titus Worldwide.
Then Titus World Slide, Titus World Conga. I mean, I'm just saying.
See, now I could totally see the conga line entrance with No Way Jose, Titus, and Apollo, and Dana Brooke in the back. I could see that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you have Apollo get jealous, turn heel, and have a undercard program with Jose, and then go off on his own.
Or maybe
and that's great because that's where they all should be right now.
Yes.
But Baron Corbin should not be there.
True.
Baron Corbin is upper mid-carder to main event talent.
Baron Corbin definitely should at least be in the IC title picture.
Right,
Yeah.
like an upper mid-carder. Yeah. Like, why is he down here talking to these jabronis? You know what I mean?
For lack of better
I don't
word.
get it, especially whenever during the Superstar shakeup they had like such a good video package for him.
Right.
And maybe that's the point, because in the video package he was saying he's there to fight and he's not there to entertain or whatever. So maybe he's just gonna squash Jose and Titus and then put this in the rearview mirror, which is fine. It's just like right now I don't like it. So
Yeah.
whoever wants to
Okay.
go.
Moving on.
like I think, honestly, I mean, a match. I'm okay with him and Titus Worldwide feuding, but like you said, yeah, him and No Way Jose, like they need to stay as far away from each other as possible. That I agree with. But him and Titus Worldwide, honestly, him and Titus O'Neil, that would be a match I'd be okay with. To be honest with you.
Okay, the next match we had was Natalya and Mickie James. I think we could honestly skip right over that because it just wound up being another way to get Rousey out there and get the fans chanting for Rousey. And we've been going for I feel like we've been going for a while on Raw, and we still got to get through SmackDown and do Backlash predictions. So
But
we're
hey,
gonna
man,
move
look.
on and just give some quick thoughts on the main event, which was an Intercontinental Championship match which pit Seth Rollins against Finn Balor. I thought that this match was amazing. It is the best match on Raw in quite some time. And Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, I could see feuding for years going forward. What do you guys think?
Hashtag fight forever.
I would say, yes, I would agree with everything you said, John, and I would add a couple of things. Number one, it seems like with the Superstar shakeup happening, it seems like Seth Rollins and Finn Balor are fighting for the face of Raw. Because most would say Braun Strowman and Roman, but Finn and Rollins have been positioned high on the card lately. They're getting a lot of airtime, and their matches are just so good. One thing I want to touch upon before we get to SmackDown was I loved in this match that Finn started talking.
Yes.
During the match and like talking crap to Seth Rollins, and I also loved the spot where Rollins hit the superplex, and then he usually hits the Falcon Arrow, but Finn turned it into a Falcon Arrow. There was a lot of good counter wrestling in this match, and it was just these two seemed to bring the best out of each other. Yeah. So I'm all for it. I would give it an A. So
Bleacher Report gave it an A+.
You know.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. I mean, JP, I think I agree with everything that you said. You took the words right out of my mouth. But yeah, and I did want to touch on that too. The not Seth Rollins, Finn Balor talking to Seth while he was during the match. That was great. And I honestly don't know why we're even talking about this. I think people should just go watch the match.
All right. So moving on from Monday Night Raw, we have Tuesday night. We got SmackDown Live on May Day, May 1st. So we're going to go right with the start of the show, kicked off with Miz TV, which I always love to see. The most must-see talk show in WWE history. Special guests on Miz TV were Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, and Shelton Benjamin. Miz introduces Hardy, wastes little time starting the part between United States Champion and Randy Orton. Then Shelton gets involved and took exception to Orton receiving a title opportunity after he beat him last week. Triggers a tag team match to start the in-ring portion of the show. What do you guys think about the Miz TV segment as a whole?
Well, all right, yeah, I mean, I liked it. I mean, Miz TV, it's, I don't, at this point, I think Miz has to work really hard to screw it up with Miz TV. I think this was fantastic. Definitely. And, you know, and I love Jeff Hardy. I've been loving Jeff Hardy since I was a kid, so he can, in my opinion, do nothing wrong. So this was good. I liked it, man.
Yeah, it did. It did well for all four men. They played their parts perfectly, and I liked the RKO at the end because it was just like how Finn hit Seth Rollins in their segment. Yep. It was like letting him know, I'm there and I know what I want, which is the U.S. title. I do have a little like observation. Have you noticed that the Miz's new gear looks a lot like Okada?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Like
and
minus
I love it.
Minus the headband, he looks a lot like Okada.
Yeah.
And I'm not against it. I just see a lot of Rainmaker there.
Yeah.
I see it. You're right.
Well, the argument could be made that The Miz is WWE's Rainmaker.
Hey.
He does make it rain.
He does.
Hey, he does.
I don't know. He's the A-lister.
Right. When his hand goes up, your mouth goes shut.
That's right.
Me and this lady, Deb, at work,
yeah.
She's like 90 years old. She loves wrestling.
Nice.
And we'll do that to each other all the time. And the other day, the way she did it kind of looked like a Nazi sign. And I was like, God. Deb, I don't know if we should continue doing this because other people might think we're doing something else. And she was like, honey, I don't care. They could say whatever they want. They're not speaking our language. And I was like, I don't know if she's talking about wrestling or if she thinks we're doing that. So I'm just gonna stop.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Like I said, Miz TV leads into the first match of SmackDown: Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton versus Shelton Benjamin and The Miz. Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton pick up the victory, and
Shelton Benjamin, John.
I said Shelton Benjamin, didn't I?
Yeah, he did.
I don't believe so.
But Shelton Benjamin and The Miz? Anyway, Orton and Hardy picked up the victory, which led to an RKO out of nowhere, which was Orton laying out Jeff Hardy. The match was really good. It was fast-paced. It was, to me, SmackDown is really good at choosing opening matches, to me. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm loving the feud with Orton and Hardy so far. I think it's breathing new life into Randy Orton, who has been stale for a while. But I'm finally feeling myself being a little excited to see Orton again. What do you guys think?
I'm just glad he's not in there with Jinder Mahal either.
Oh my God, yes. Right. Oh my God. No, if we have to see Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton part 56 again, I just might stop watching WWE. I'm done, man. I don't want to see that again.
And honestly, like, whenever Jeff was still in Impact, and I fantasized about the Hardys coming back, I always wanted to see Jeff versus Orton versus Finn, because I felt like Finn was like a combination of the two, wrestling wise. But since Finn's in Raw, whatever, I'm still happy to see Hardy versus Orton, because these are two veterans who are going to put on a good match regardless.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right,
I have to I agree. I don't have much else to say. It's a good match. I really liked it, and everyone got their stuff in, so always good. And yeah, like you said, SmackDown has a knack for picking good openers. So yeah, I agree. I agree.
Now, we're going to move on to something that is just painful to watch. Something that puts me to sleep, honestly, because we have the most boring WWE superstar who's ever lived, Big Cass, bringing out a little person dressed as Daniel Bryan. I have nothing to say.
Yeah.
I literally have nothing to say.
Can I go first
Please,
on this one?
Please.
The promo wasn't terrible, but once he brought out the little person, it became awful. I think Cass is in a position that no one would want to be in, being Daniel Bryan's first program back. So, like, I kind of feel bad for the guy, but at the same time, I don't at all, because without Enzo, he's kind of garbage, and, like, I can't even say that, because we haven't seen enough of him.
Right.
And he just came back from an injury. But I just think that the position he's in, no one would want to be in.
Yeah.
And like you said, John, it was awful. I didn't want to watch it. I watched it because of this podcast.
Yeah.
Only. And I thought it was crap.
Yeah.
I thought that we were past WWE having little people dressed as wrestlers. I thought we were past that.
Don't you remember WrestleMania? They had him with New Day.
Yeah, but they were just.
And I remember someone saying the same thing.
What I was saying, I'm talking about how you have a wrestler bring out a little person dressed as their opponent to make fun of them. That's what I thought we were past. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was like Shawn Michaels and DX against Bret Hart, you know? Except Big Cass is no Shawn Michaels.
Oh, no.
And this ain't 1998.
Big Cass is no superstar.
It's actually 20 years later.
Yeah. I just want to say, why are we even having Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan? Why can't we just go to Miz and Daniel Bryan? That's what the people want. That's what I want. I don't know why they're putting this, no pun intended, but this giant roadblock in our way of Miz and Daniel Bryan.
Right. Personally, I want to see Miz and Daniel Bryan be a WrestleMania match. So I'm not sure if I'd rather them have Miz and Daniel going at it right now, but seriously,
what about SummerSlam?
Anybody but Cass. I
said on the last episode of the Omega Cast, not the reaction vid, I had a similar sentiment, and I was saying how we've been waiting for Daniel Bryan to come back, and we've been waiting to see him against certain wrestlers. One of them being AJ, one of them being Shinsuke, one of them being The Miz, obviously. And they kind of flirted with the idea of Daniel Bryan being in the title picture his first night back. Especially, I thought they would go somewhere whenever Nakamura nailed him in the back of his concussed head, but they didn't. And they chose to go with another returning superstar with Big Cass, and you want to put over this newer guy. Why would you do it at the expense of a returning Daniel Bryan? Is it because Daniel Bryan is so beloved it doesn't matter if he takes a loss against Big Cass and he'll go on to something else anyway? But then, does that mean anything for Big Cass? No.
Nope.
So, it makes no sense. Because if Bryan could take the loss to Cass and still go on to be a main eventer, then it really means nothing for Big Cass. So, I don't get it. I don't like it.
For me,
it's poop sandwich.
For me, yeah, I agree. And I think, honestly, I don't know why they even transferred Cass to SmackDown in the first place, because I think all the giants, like the bigger guys, they're over on Raw. He should just feud with them. He can feud with the aforementioned Baron Corbin. He can feud with Strowman, Lashley. Are you kidding me? Like, those would be good matches. I would love to see those. But what in the hell is he doing in SmackDown?
I don't know. Maybe he put a request in so that maybe he can try and put his marriage back together.
For what?
I mean, that's the only thing I could. That's the only thing I could see, because everything what you just said makes way more sense than having him on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing that he's doing, like I'm big and he's small, was what Sheamus was doing right before Daniel Bryan got the last concussion, and to be honest, that wasn't such a great gimmick. So, whatever. Let's move on, John.
Yeah.
I'm sick of talking about big sass.
Yeah, big ass, whatever.
Moving on, we have your weekly SmackDown Nutshot. Shinsuke Nakamura demanded an apology from AJ Styles. Renee Young introduced WWE Champion AJ Styles to the fans, drawing a thunderous ovation as the Phenomenal One made his way to the squared circle. Now, Joe interrupts the proceedings. Samoa Joe comes out there, talks about how he's going to destroy Roman Reigns at Backlash, and after that, whether it's AJ or Shinsuke, he's coming after the WWE title, and this led to Shinsuke's music hit. Joe squares up. He's ready for Shinsuke. And Shinsuke instead pops up behind AJ, hits him with the low blow, hits him with a Kinshasa, pats him on the head. What do you guys think about this segment?
Sid, you can go first.
Okay. Sorry, I think I was already going. I was already ahead. Sorry, but honestly, first things first, I want to say Shinsuke has basically become a Pokemon, because a wild Shinsuke appears. Shinsuke uses low blow. It's super effective. So, but I did like. I wanted to say that so long. I held it in for so long, and I've said this is the right time to do it. So anyway, but I think this was a great segment. EJ is fantastic as usual. Joe, I will say this. He did say one line which kind of got me going, what? Because he said that, the match you should be talking about is my match with Roman Reigns. Why would AJ Styles talk about your match, Joe? It's your match, not his. So, but other than that, I mean, I like the segment. I am interested in the potential match between Styles and Joe, or even Styles and Nakamura, or even all three of them. So I'm excited about that. But yeah,
I think Samoa Joe on the microphone may be the best male talent on the microphone right now. I really liked how Nakamura faked out Samoa Joe and came up from behind and with the nut punch on AJ. But more so, I liked how he faked a Kinshasa, then hit a Kinshasa, and then got in AJ's face. Mm-hmm. This heel Nakamura is very, very unnerving, I would say. You don't know what's going to happen, or I mean, you know that you're going to get your nuts punched in, but you don't know how he's going to do it, where he's coming from, how his facials are so good right now. I love it. I love it so much.
Yep.
I totally agree.
Yep.
I totally agree. Heel Nakamura is just beautiful to me. I love it so much.
That was funny.
And it should be
You should
mentioned.
take a picture. You should take a picture
What's
of
that?
it, blow it up, and put it on your wall.
Put it.
Of a heel Shinsuke?
Put it on the. Put it right on top of your bed. So when you wake up, it's the first thing you see.
It's just him punching AJ right in the nutsack.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what you wake up to every morning.
It should be mentioned that the match at Backlash between AJ and Nakamura is now a no disqualification match, which means that the low blow is 100% legal.
And so is the steel chair.
So is a steel chair. And AJ Styles has more of a hardcore wrestling experience because that's not really a thing in New Japan. But it was very much a thing in Impact Wrestling and in WWE, where he's been for the past couple years.
Yep.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Now,
so
you know what AJ has
we're
to
gonna move on from that.
Sorry.
What's that?
You know what AJ has to do now, right, to get back at Nakamura?
Right.
He has to take a steel chair and hit him in the nuts with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way.
I personally think he should wear a cup. Wear a cup.
What's up?
Because you know it's coming.
Yep.
Moving on from the AJ Nakamura segment, we come up on Xavier Woods versus Sheamus, which is going to be used to perpetuate the feud between the Bar and the New Day. Not much to say about this match. It was just your run-of-the-mill pre-main event match, and it was a fine match. Xavier and Sheamus are two guys that I particularly enjoy watching. So, what do you guys think about this one? It was pretty run-of-the-mill for me.
Exactly. I didn't think much of it. It was run-of-the-mill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. I mean,
not saying that it was bad.
You know, both.
I
think the feud that I really want to see though is the Bar versus Bludgeon Brothers.
Bang.
Definitely, I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we already saw New Day in the Bar back on Raw back in the day. They are the ones who beat New Day's streak or whatever.
The record, I guess.
Right.
So what was next, John?
Well, that led into our SmackDown main event, which is a 6-woman tag match, which pitched Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Asuka against Carmella, teaming up with the Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. This wound up with Charlotte, Lynch, and Asuka picking up the win. I believe it was Asuka got a... Yeah, I think Asuka used
tap
the
out
Asuka
submission
lock on Peyton
Asuka
Royce.
On Peyton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was a pretty good match. I did find it interesting that both Raw and SmackDown featured a 6-person tag match this week. What do you think?
I'm gonna say this: as much as I liked Seth Rollins and Finn on Monday closing the show, I just as much like this match closing SmackDown. All of these ladies, all 6 of them, performed at a high level. They showed why they should all be main eventers on a show, and they all played their parts well. And you got a lot of teasing of the Iconics and Becky. They also teased the Carmella and Charlotte match, with Carmella starting the match with her, but then tagging out real quick, and Charlotte hitting the moonsault onto Carmella and the other girls. I just thought this is a really good match, and if anyone didn't see SmackDown, they should definitely watch this. Go out of their way to watch this match.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Raw or SmackDown this week, at least watch both main events. They were both pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So that
NerdyMark, how do you feel about that match?
Yeah, I agree, JP. I think this was a phenomenal, very good match. Only thing is, Asuka seems to be more and more getting into limbo, and I am not a big fan of that. However, with respect to this match, I did like this whole thing, but we'll just see. I just want something else to be on the horizon for Asuka. That's all I'm concerned about.
And you know what I think? I think ultimately it has to happen. We've been talking about this for months. They have to have a women's tag team title.
They should.
And the way Asuka and Becky were talking to each other in the backstage segment before Charlotte got there, I could totally see them being a tag team. Yeah, maybe right now Asuka doesn't have a foreseeable, like, you can't see the future for her, but her picking up the win in this major match shows that they still are behind her.
Yeah.
You know.
That's true.
Hell yeah.
All right, John, I'm going to take over from here.
Yeah, that does it for the Raw and SmackDown leading into Backlash. It is time for the official Omega Cast Backlash predictions. I'm going to let my buddy JP kick off this. I have here that just 2 hours ago they added a pre-show match. Is that on your card yet?
No. What is it?
The pre-show match, and this is literally 2 hours ago, is what the article said. They added Bayley versus Ruby Riott to the pre-show.
Now that's very interesting. Because we just had Banks versus Ruby, and Banks lost, and Bayley didn't show her face. So maybe WWE is righting their wrong from Monday and is going to use this as a vehicle to try and get some traction on Bayley versus Sasha again.
Right.
I'm picking Ruby Riott with a disqualification win. But what do you think?
Ruby Riott with DQ. That's interesting.
John?
I'd like to see Bayley pick up the victory.
Clean?
Sure.
No Sasha involved?
I don't know if Sasha would help Bayley at this point, right?
Or go against her.
Very possible. Yeah. I might agree with you. I could see either Sasha getting involved or the Riot Squad getting involved. But I want to pick Bayley because I like Bayley and I'm sick of seeing her lose.
Sid?
Yeah,
who you taking?
I'm going to agree with John here. I'm going to go for Bayley. However, I do want to see one thing happen. I want Bayley to win, but I would love for Sasha to be out there. Bayley wins, and Sasha comes out and hugs her quote-unquote best friend and turns on her. And we finally go to the next chapter of this feud. That's what should happen.
Nice. I like that.
Yes. So...
Alright, JP, let's move on with the main card. I'm going to let you take over.
Yeah, looking at the card, the first match is scheduled to be Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Sid, what do you see from this?
So how I usually do my predictions is what should happen and what will happen. So I'll kind of tell you that I think that Strowman and Lashley should and will win this match because, one, it's Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley. I think they're powerhouses, and if you kind of make them lose at this point, it's kind of kills their momentum. I mean, especially Braun Strowman. And also, I think these two should be a tag team. I think this is a really good upgrade from Nicholas for Braun Strowman, definitely. So I could see Strowman and Lashley be a tag team.
John?
I tend to agree with what Sid has said here. I think it's pretty clear that Strowman and Lashley are going to pick up the victory here because they're monstrosities, both of them. I don't see Kevin and Sami having a chance in this one. How about it, JP?
I'm also going to go with Strowman and Lashley winning just because Owens and Zayn can take a loss and it not matter. And plus, like Sid said, it's Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman's going to win. You guys are talking about Bobby Lashley and Braun being a tag team, and I just don't know what they're doing with either of them. And I guess it makes sense to throw them together, but it's not where neither should be. So I'm not really happy to see this match happening, but I'm excited to see what it leads to, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of feel like there's nowhere else to put Lashley right now. He's still pretty much waiting for a feud to happen, I guess.
Yeah, and why would you sign someone to your main show if you didn't have an idea for a feud for them?
Look at Nakamura.
I mean, we wanted I mean, we definitely. I know a lot of us. I don't know about you guys, but definitely the feud I would love to see is Lashley versus Lesnar. But apparently that's off the table.
Yes.
In an octagon.
Why?
Put it in an octagon
for real,
like
yes.
how they did the Lions Den match back in the day or
They
something.
should do that.
Because both have MMA backgrounds. That would be awesome. But maybe they just want to build Lashley up a little before they get to a Brock Lesnar match.
Yes, because they're doing
Which
such
is
a great
fine.
job.
It's just
Makes sense to me.
Braun Strowman needs something to do until SummerSlam or Survivor Series whenever he gets the belt, because that's when I think he's going to get it. So anyway, second match, Daniel Bryan versus big sassy ass Cass.
All right.
John, who do you think's going to take this?
I'm hoping for Daniel Bryan. I want Daniel Bryan to win. I'm so worried that they're going to give it to Cass, though. What do you guys think?
Personally, I mean, I see your concern, but I do think Daniel Bryan's winning this Sunday.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think a good way to do it would be to have Daniel Bryan do those running corner kicks and just hit him in the head a bunch of times.
Pretty much.
They had to find a way to make it believable that he could take out Big Cass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that it seems like Big Cass is going to win because he needs a rub, but I really want Daniel Bryan to win because since his return, he hasn't had an impactful, certain impactful moment. They kind of screwed up his WrestleMania match a little bit. Him lasting so long in the Greatest Royal Rumble is cool, but there wasn't like a moment that you could point to. So if he beats this Goliath in Big Cass, it would be a moment that rocket straps him again from his injury. So I am going to go with Daniel Bryan as well. The third match here is the U.S. Championship. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. Sid, what do you think?
I'll be honest. This is kind of a little bit hard for me to predict, just because both could potentially be take the title. But I'm gonna ultimately go with Jeff Hardy retaining, because this is technically his first pay-per-view title defense, because whereas Royal Rumble is essentially a house show. So but I think it's too early to take the title off of him right now.
John?
I fully agree with Sid on this one. I want Hardy to retain, and I think that he will.
No, I find that funny, John, because we have established something here on this show, on the Omega Cast, is that you do not jump around Randy Orton unless you want an RKO. And what is Jeff Hardy's main moves? They're jumps. So I could see Randy Orton taking the title off of Jeff Hardy just because of that. He could go for a whisper in the wind and get caught in an RKO. He could go for the Swanton and get Randy Orton could just jump right up and hit him with an RKO.
Well, maybe more the Swanton than the Whisper in the Wind, because Whisper in the Wind, basically he's like spinning around and hitting it. Swanton, he's doing a huge flip, off the turnbuckle. So Swanton, I could understand.
I mean, yeah, but having him catch the RKO out of the Whisper in the Wind would be so freaking sick, though.
And they've been doing it for so long, they could figure it out. But I also agree.
So are you going with
that
Orton?
It's too early to take the U.S. title off of Jeff Hardy. I see Jeff Hardy retaining. And another reason why is because there's two main belts. There's three main singles belts, and I think that by the end of Backlash, you're gonna have one of those belts be on a face. and that face will be Jeff Hardy, and that belt will be the United States Championship.
There you go. Makes sense to me.
Also, so the next match is listed as Carmella defending against the woman she cashed in on, the Queen, Charlotte Flair. John, what do you think's going to happen here?
I don't know. Charlotte's gonna get it back. I mean, Carmella simply can't go one-on-one with Charlotte when Charlotte knows what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, Charlotte's gonna get it back. That's how it is.
But is she gonna get it back here, you think? I mean, I agree. Eventually, the title is going to find its way back onto Charlotte's waist.
I could see them having Charlotte get it back at Backlash, because they are treating this sort of a prestigious event, because it's the first in like the future of pay-per-views they're kind of doing here, because they're going to go forward with all dual brand pay-per-views, with Backlash sort of being the first one post-Mania. You know what I mean?
Right. I see what you're saying.
So,
Sid, what do you think?
I think they are treating this as more of a prestigious event than it would be normally. What do you got, Sid?
Okay, yeah, so, I think, John, you made some good points, and I think, Charlotte winning seems like the way they might go. However, Ruby, not Ruby Riott. Carmella doesn't like Charlotte, but you know who else doesn't like Charlotte? And that would be the Iconics. So the Iconics could get involved and help Carmella retain. However,
that's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
However, Charlotte definitely. However, Asuka still has a bone to pick with Charlotte, and that is that she ended her streak at Mania. So, if Carmella wins, it would be usually by a screwy finish with the Iconics. However, if Charlotte wins, I think Asuka will be her next challenger, and she'll, be like, I have to get you back for, losing the streak. But ultimately, I want it to be Charlotte just because I want to see Charlotte versus Asuka again, because let's face it, that was a good match, and the rematch could be better.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
It was a great match, and I think it could be a lot better this time. However, I think that Carmella will retain, so I guess I'm going to say Carmella will actually win.
I'm going to go with a Carmella win, and here's why. You touched on it a bit there, Sid.
Huh?
The Iconics, they were called the Iconic Duo in NXT, and we talked about how they took the duo off, and it could signify, another member becoming iconic, and it looks like they're kind of flirting with that with Carmella. I could definitely see them getting involved and helping Carmella retain the title, and I think it's too early for them to take the title off of Carmella, honestly. We all know that Charlotte is the face of WWE's women's division all across the board, and it's going to make its way back to her, but it's not time yet, and I think Carmella's keeping it. The next match is Seth Rollins. Oh no, I'm a liar. I'm a big fat liar. Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. Sid, how do you feel about this?
I think this is one of the easiest matches to predict. I keep going back to Charlotte and Carmella. Sorry about that, but this is one of the most easiest matches to predict. I'm saying Nia Jax should and will win this match because Alexa Bliss has been bullying here for all this time. She got her comeuppance at WrestleMania, but then you take the title off of her at Backlash. That's like a huge spit in the face to Nia Jax. So keep the title on Nia. That's what I say.
John?
I agree. I think it's pretty clear that Nia's gonna pick up the victory here.
Yep, Nia's winning until Rousey's ready to take the strap from her, or somebody else.
Ember Moon
gets
maybe.
traded to
Ember Moon
Raw.
would be good.
Who?
Ember Moon.
Sid?
Yeah, I said
What was that? Sid?
Ember Moon.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that would be
Yeah.
good. That would definitely be good. But yeah, Nia's beating Alexa. The next match on the card is a match that I don't really understand why it exists, but it does. Seth Rollins as the Intercontinental Champion going into Backlash against SmackDown's The Miz. John, what are your thoughts, predictions?
Is this for the Intercontinental title?
Yes, sir.
Was this match already set up before the Superstar Shakeup, maybe?
I don't know.
I believe so. I believe so.
Because I know that Roman and Joe was already set up, so that's why they're going at it. But, yeah, I guess you're going to have Rollins win, right? They're not going to put all the titles on SmackDown.
Unless the only way I could see it being the other way is if Miz gets the title and then moves back to Raw, which I don't see happening. I see Rollins retaining and possibly Finn Balor coming out and
getting involved.
Maybe making his presence known.
Dude, I was gonna say the exact same
Sid?
thing.
Yeah,
Sounds
maybe
good.
like not like
sense
an
to me.
interference, but like, hey, guess what? I'm here.
After the
Yeah.
match, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or he gets
But yeah.
away with the interference and it doesn't. Maybe he
It doesn't
interferes
affect the match
and
that
it's a
much.
DQ and the Miz is screwed out of the title
Right.
and Seth Rollins keeps it. But anyway, the next match, AJ
Oh,
Styles versus
I had
Nakamura
my-
for the WWE.
Oh, I didn't do my prediction.
My bad. My bad.
No problem,
my
no
bad.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
are you two going to give predictions on Rollins?
Yeah, no, but I do agree. Seth Rollins should win. However, I do have an interesting angle for if the Miz wins. If y'all would like to hear it.
All right.
So you know how like when they with I know Corey, especially since he's like the biggest Miz's ass kisser. He was like, oh, if the Miz wins, he's gonna tie Chris Jericho for the 9-time Intercontinental title. What if? And I know this is not gonna happen. Okay, I'm fully aware this is just fantasy booking. What if the Miz does win, and then after after that, from behind, just like he did with Naito, Jericho comes out, hits Miz with the code breaker, and puts him on the list, and that's the match we have for SummerSlam.
I think it'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. But
That'd be pretty sweet.
I know that's not happening, so I'm going with Seth Rollins.
But that could happen farther down
Yeah.
the line because the whole Miz getting the IC title again, I could see them making that a whole storyline with Chris Jericho. So it might not happen right now, but in the future, I could definitely see it happening.
Yeah.
So the second to last match they have listed is AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. No DQ match for the WWE Championship. Sid, predictions.
Okay, this is actually kind of a harder one to predict. I think if AJ wins, this feud is effectively over. But if Nakamura wins, this feud can go on. However, I know AJ has as great of a champion as he's been. I think he's had the title on for quite a bit. So who better than Nutshot Nakamura to take it off of him? I think Nakamura is taking the win this time. And he should.
John?
I agree with Sid. I do think Nakamura is going to win. However, I do think that the the no DQ stipulation will favor AJ more. But I don't know if it's going to matter that much because we still have... He's still in there with Nakamura, whether or not DQs are allowed. But I think we're going to see a knockdown, drag-out match, and it's going to be hard-hitting, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to steal the show. Clearly, it's AJ Nakamura. But I do think that it is Nakamura's time to put down AJ.
Yep.
I agree that Nakamura is going to win, but I have a little different take on it.
What do you got?
Most people would think that the no DQ would favor Shinsuke because of the nut punches being allowed, so he can basically do them at any time, as many times as he wants. But you got to remember, the Good Brothers are on SmackDown.
Oh, that's right.
So AJ, if he needed, they could come out. And we haven't seen Andrade Cien Almas on SmackDown yet. What would be a better way to debut as a friend, former friend and fellow stablemate or whatever they were in New Japan and CMLL, than to help the dastardly Nakamura win the championship? I think there's a possibility we could see Andrade help out Nakamura. There's a possibility we could see the club coming out. But ultimately, I think that the feud, like Sid said, if AJ wins, the feud ends. And I don't think the feud's ending. I think they're going to milk this feud for all it's worth. And it's the perfect time right now to put it on Nakamura. And it's the perfect stipulation as well. So, yeah. The last match we got here is the two Samoans, Samoa Joe and the Joe that is Samoan, Roman Reigns. John, who do you think's taking this?
Joe.
Oh, come on, John.
I think, Joe. Roman has effectively...
okay, I thought you were like joking around because both of their names are Joe, like I was joking.
No. I was saying Samoa Joe. Roman has effectively lost all of his momentum. I don't see what else they're going to do with Roman. I mean, eventually they're going to have to have Roman and Brock fight again because of the screwy finish of the cage match. But at Backlash, I think Joe's going to pick up the victory because he needs some momentum starting on SmackDown.
Sid?
What do you guys think?
I'm a little conflicted. I mean, if Roman... Now, I know, John, you were saying that Roman has no momentum, but I think if he does beat Joe, he could get some of his momentum back. However, like you said, I don't really see that happening. I think the big dog is going to become the humbled dog this Sunday, and Joe is going to kill Roman, and he's going to be thrown in jail for animal abuse after that. Sorry, I couldn't.
I don't see how Samoa Joe can beat a guy clean who won the Elimination Chamber after taking all that hellacious beating from Braun Strowman. So if Samoa Joe wins, it would have to be dirty, or he keeps saying he's gonna make him choke. He's gonna choke him out and everything. So I could see this match, Joe winning this match due to referee stoppage. But it's so hard to pick because both men could use this win. But I'm going to go with Joe just because a title isn't on the line. If a title was on the line, I would definitely pick Roman.
Absolutely.
But since the title's not on the line, and since they're both on separate shows, I think Joe's gonna win due to referee stoppage.
Yeah, my whole point there is if Joe wants to talk about going after the WWE title, he needs the victory at Backlash.
he does.
I agree.
Does, yeah.
All right, so that ends our predictions. Sid,
What's up?
that was great having you on today.
Yeah.
Once
So
again,
how'd you enjoy
let the Omega Cast listeners let them know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, so obviously I do have a YouTube channel, as I mentioned. It's called the NerdyMark. Just the space NerdyMark, all one word. You look for me on YouTube. It's the blue and green logo with an NM initials on it. Which I designed myself, by the way. And you can find me on Twitter at capital SID capital S92. And you can find me on Instagram, SIDS500, no caps on that. And yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me right now. I do have Snapchat, but I don't really use it much, so I'm not gonna plug that. But yeah.
All right, Sid. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, dude. Anytime.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and maybe we'll do this again in the future.
Absolutely.
I could totally see you being on another episode, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'd love that. That'd be good. And if y'all are in Texas, man, let me know. We can maybe get on. Y'all can come on my channel.
Ha, yeah,
If
live
I'm
and in
down
color.
there, we'll see.
Yep.
Well, anyway, so John, how did you feel about this episode?
I think it was a pretty good one. I feel good about our Backlash predictions. We agreed on a lot of stuff. That doesn't happen often.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I thought the show went really well.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to put this out there, but I'm thinking Backlash might be a little predictable.
Yeah, that's why maybe a lot of our predictions are wrong.
Yeah.
So anyway, to everyone who is listening or will listen to this, no matter if it's morning, day, morning, afternoon, or night, you have a great one, and love and peace to all of you. This is JP Whitman of the Omega Cast and
John Kerns. Find me on Twitter and Instagram, jkerns91, JP.
I am at the JP Whitman on Twitter and JP Whitman on Instagram. And with that, we out of here.